Hello everyone, my name is Taehyun Kim, and today I will talk about the linear endoscopic ultrasound anatomy of the pancreatobiliary system. How do we find the pancreas and bile duct during EUS? I like to think of it in 4 steps. First, we must always know where the scope is in the stomach, the duodenal bulb, or the second portion of the duodenum. Second, we define a home base or landmark, which serves as both our starting point and the point to which we return. Third, we use anatomical roads such as the bile duct, pancreatic duct, and surrounding vessels to guide our exploration. Finally, we use Doppler to clearly distinguish vessels from other structures and to avoid misinterpretation. I would like to introduce 3 fundamental viewing positions for pancreatobiliary endoscopic ultrasound. The illustration on this slide shows the pancreas, the surrounding organs, and the major vessels. First, we refer to the position of the upper stomach and cardia as the G position. When examining the pancreatic body and tail at this position, we use the splenic artery, splenic vein, and left kidney as our main reference structures. For the second basic position, the endoscope is placed in the duodenal bulb, or D1, and the main target is the pancreatic head, bile duct, and gallbladder. From this view, the key structures are the portal vein, SMA, and SMV, as shown in this figure. Finally, from the second part of the duodenum, D2, the endoscope examines the lower part of the pancreatic head and major ampulla. In this position, the main landmarks include the aorta and the SMA and SMV. A clear understanding of these 3 basic positions is the starting point for accurate diagnosis in pancreatobiliary EUS. There are 3 basic ways to manipulate the echoendoscope. First, angulation refers to moving the tip of the scope up and down. Second, torque means rotating the shaft of the scope clockwise or counterclockwise. Third, we advance and withdraw the scope to move distally and proximally while observing the target area. Mastering these 3 maneuvers is essential for safe and accurate EUS examination. There are 2 main transgastric routes for examining the pancreatobiliary system. The first route follows the descending aorta and then tracks toward the pancreas. The second route starts from the left portal vein in the liver, follows the portal vein, and then onto the pancreas. By using these 2 routes, we can systematically explore the pancreatobiliary system. This time, I will explain transgastric view from descending aorta. I think that rotating abdominal CT images is a very simple but powerful way to understand EUS anatomy in the stomach. When you rotate the CT, as in this figure, you can clearly see that the positions of the liver and stomach change, just like they do on the EUS screen when you rotate the echoendoscope. This makes it much easier for us, as endoscopists, to predict what structures will appear as we turn the scope. First step. When the patient is in the left lateral position and the scope is advanced to the esophagogastric junction, the transducer faces anteriorly toward the left liver. From this position, gradual clockwise rotation allows us to visualize, in sequence, the left liver lobe, the caudate lobe, the inferior vena cava, and then the descending aorta. The second step is to identify the descending aorta. The key landmarks in this phase are the abdominal aorta and the celiac artery. After recognizing the liver on the EUS image, we rotate the scope clockwise to bring the descending aorta into view, followed by the celiac artery, and then the superior mesenteric artery. The descending aorta serves as the starting point for this part of the examination. Now, this schematic illustrates how we visualize the pancreatobiliary anatomy with EUS. Descending aorta is located midline. It divides right and left portion. By rotating the scope counterclockwise or clockwise, we can bring different structures into view. Using this figure, I will now explain these relationships in more detail. From the home base, when we rotate the scope clockwise, we can visualize the pancreatic tail, the left kidney, left adrenal gland, and the spleen. In contrast, when we rotate the scope counterclockwise, we can examine the pancreatic body, neck, and head, as well as the portal vein, superior mesenteric vein, and the biliary system. The third step is to identify the splenic artery and vein. The main landmarks in this phase are the splenic artery and splenic vein. After gently advancing the scope and rotating it clockwise, we can visualize the pancreatic body together with the descending aorta. At this point, the splenic vein and artery become important reference structures. In general, the splenic artery tends to appear on the proximal side of the transducer, whereas the splenic vein is usually seen on the distal side. The fourth step is to identify the pancreatic tail and the left kidney. At this stage, the main landmarks are the splenic vein and the left kidney. By continuing to rotate the scope clockwise while following the course of the splenic vein, we can visualize the pancreatic tail together with the left kidney. The fifth step is to identify the pancreatic tail and the spleen. We continue to rotate the scope clockwise, following the pancreas until the splenic hilum and pancreatic tail come into view. At this point, applying upward angulation of the scope makes it easier to clearly visualize both the pancreatic tail and the splenic hilum. The sixth step is to examine the pancreatic body. Here, the main landmarks are the splenic vein and the left kidney. We continue to rotate the scope counterclockwise and advance it while following the splenic vein and the left kidney. This maneuver allows us to scan the region from the pancreatic tail toward the body, using the splenic vein as a key landmark throughout. The seventh step is to identify the pancreatic body and the portal confluence. The key landmark in this step is the portal confluence. After following the splenic vein while rotating the scope counterclockwise, we then use the large wheel to push the scope upward. This brings into view the confluence where the superior mesenteric vein and splenic vein join to form the portal vein. The portal confluence is an excellent landmark for examining the pancreatic body, neck, and head. The eighth step is to identify the superior mesenteric vein and the pancreatic head. In this step, the key landmarks are the superior mesenteric vein and the portal confluence. We again rotate the scope clockwise while applying upward angulation, and then advance the scope along the course of the superior mesenteric vein in an alpha-shaped trajectory. This maneuver allows us to obtain a better view of the pancreatic head, including the ventral pancreas within the pancreatic head. The ninth step is to identify the hepatic hilum and the gallbladder. In this step, the portal vein serves as the main landmark. As we slowly withdraw the scope and follow the portal vein toward the hepatic hilum, the common bile duct appears running parallel to the portal vein. By tracing this segment of the common bile duct, we can clearly recognize the hepatic hilum and the gallbladder. I would like to discuss strategies for optimizing linear EUS imaging. It is important to memorize the basic reference images, identify a reliable home base, and then carefully trace the bile duct and surrounding vessels. A systematic, station-based approach is essential to avoid missing lesions during diagnostic EUS. And in patients with fatty liver or fatty pancreas, Adjusting the gain and frequency helps achieve better image quality. Thank you for your attention.